This is where James Witcomb Riley grew up, a white house along Main Street in Greenfield, a house that has now become a National Historic Monument where tourists come to see the birthplace of our Hoosier poet. It was here that young James learned to love nature, the Midwest, and Indiana. This is the parlor of the home of James Witcomb Riley, a place he often came, for not only was James Witcomb Riley an accomplished poet, but he also played two musical instruments. He played the organ and he played the violin. Well, not only did James Witcomb Riley grow up in his house, but so did his brother John, who was also a poet, but certainly didn't achieve the fame or notoriety that his brother did. And also a little girl called Little Orphan Annie. Little Orphan Annie was not created in a comic book, nor on Broadway as part of a musical. Little Orphan Annie actually existed and actually lived with the family, and it was James Witcomb Riley who made her famous. Little Orphan Annie's come to our house to stay, and wash the cups and saucers up and brush the crumbs away, and shoo the chickens off the porch and dust the hearth and sweep, and make the fire and bake the bread and earn her board and keep. And all us other children, when the supper things is done, we set around the kitchen fire and has the mostest fun, listening to the witch tales that Annie tells about, and the goblins that'll get you if you don't watch out. James Witcomb Riley did much in his lifetime. He was a sign painter and then an actor in a patent medicine show. The adult Riley lived here on Lockerbie Street in Indianapolis, a street he later immortalized in the poem called Lockerbie Street. But Riley frequently came home. Not only was James Witcomb Riley a poet, but he was also a journalist, and as a journalist he must have often felt that much of what he had written had gone unnoticed, or at least unheeded, because he wrote a little poem called The Little Old Poem That Nobody Reads, and it goes like this. The little old poem that nobody reads blooms in a crowded space, like a ground vine blossom so low in the weeds that nobody sees its face, unless perchance the reader's eyes stares through a yawn and hurries by, for nobody wants, or loves, or heeds the little old poem that nobody reads. James Witcomb Riley, consider it read, and happy birthday. I'm Josh Littman, Channel 8 News, around Indiana in Greenfield.